Hello and welcome. My name is TyrionLanstr. Alright, so today I want to talk about the wall and specifically how to set up your wall defense. So when I click on my wall, I go to City Defense. As you can see, I get these 3 pages. My fortifications, which you can see here. You can purchase whichever ones you want. You have your repairs if you need them. Basically, if there are damaged fortifications, kind of the same way you get wounded troops, you can have basically damaged fortifications that you can repair for a little bit less than it costs to actually make them fresh. And then lastly, you have your wall. Now, a couple of important things to realize. You have 2 different dragons that defend, and then 5 commanders. Always your lord is going to be this first column, and then the other 4 are the 4 other commanders that you've chosen. So that's the basic gist of which these commanders are. Now, an important thing to realize, because I think a lot of people, if they change their lord around a lot, they get a little bit confused as to why these commanders are set to which ones that they are, and get upset when it changes. So just as a quick example, right now I have my lord set as Layla, but let's say I wanted to change that. Let's say I changed her to Darius. Why not? Once I change it to Darius, if I go to my city defense, you'll see that on my wall, Darius has now replaced that new spot. Now, some people might be thinking, okay, well, what happens if I make my lord someone who's already on the wall? What happens with that last spot? So let's say that I make it Enzo. All right, so if I go to Darius, and let's change it to Enzo. Here we are. Once I make it Enzo, then Darius is going to replace him on my wall. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now Darius is in the second spot, Enzo is in my first spot, but I didn't get Layla back. I'm still with Darius. But what I would need to do to get Layla back is I'd click on this, click here, go down to Layla, and then bam, back to where I want. Now, in terms of deciding what commanders you want actually on your wall, I think it's important to take into account a pretty different approach to what you would do for a standard just basic defense. So the first thing you want to look at is what is your front line. So for example, I use a cav spear front line. This is to counter infantry best, but also in the off chance that I do run into another cavalry front or something like that, do have those spearmen to kind of quickly help counter them back. Honest to God, if I had better inf stats, I would probably go cav inf. But just because I know that Cav and Spear are my 2 best stats, those are going to be the first 2 that I want hitting with. So that's kind of the background of like what defense you're in, and then from that, you want to make sure that that front line has some decent stats. So that's why I always like to have Enzo in. He gives great Cav health and defense, and a lot of Cav attack, so he's a great commander to have. Additionally, having Layla, she gives Cav health and defense as well as total attack. Getting that extra health and defense on my front line is going to be really, really helpful. Now, my other 3 are all basically total attack commanders. Annie gives some total health and defense as well, but Julian is basically straight total attack, and Theon is also pretty much straight total attack. So why am I using these particular commanders? Well, it's because unlike in a solo attack or even a rally, I'm going to be using all of my troops. I've got 15 million troops that are going to be involved in this defense, and it's the way that troops are allocated for someone like me who has more than 15 million troops is it's always going to be your tier 4 troops first, then your tier 3, and so on, and then it always does your front line first. So, for example, for me, that's going to be all my tier 4s of all of mine, and then all my tier 3, but with a particular focus on my tier 3 cav, which I have a lot of as my big front line to protect the rest of my troops. So to that effect, health and defense on my spearmen, my infantry, and my bowmen, not going to help a lot. But having their attack be high will make a big difference. So total attack stats are really going to happen and affect all 4 of my different troop types, whereas an individual, just cav attack is only going to help my cavalry. So for that reason, all 4 of these commanders all are giving total attack stats and going to help each of my different lines. Now, really quickly, there are some commanders in here that I think are really good on the wall that I'm not using, such as Simon. I'm going to rotate Simon in once he is gold, but seeing as right now he's only purple, he's not quite as good as the other commanders would be, so that's why I don't have him in. But definitely if you have Simon, I'd recommend using him on your wall. He is just really, really good there, gives a lot of great stats. But I hope this helps in terms of which commanders you're going to want in there and kind of understanding which goes where and what that means, and also making sure that you always have the right commanders set. Be aware that if you send commanders out, they can't also be defending. So let's just say, for example, a lot of these commanders are the same ones that I use in my cavalry attacks, but let's just say, go to the world for a second. I'm going to set up a camp nearby to show what happens with this. So let's I don't actually, it probably won't let me occupy without popping fervor. We'll see. Alright, so if I do my cav rush, let's do it. Okay, great. So it's letting me do that without popping fervor. So now that I've sent those troops out, and again, just to be clear, that does involve my Lord Enzo, as well as Julian and Layla. So let's see what happens now to my wall. If I go to my wall now, as you can see, these 4 are all out. They're not going to help defend my wall right now. So that's not good. You don't want that necessarily. The only one defending my wall for sure is Theon right now. As a result, I'm not going to have as good defenders when I get attacked. In general, they're always going to fill your wall with other defenders, but you want to be able to control that. So I know that if I have those guys out, I'm going to want to swap them out with someone else who's going to be a better defender for me. So let's do this, and we'll get Rob, sure. And note that the Lord, you cannot swap out the Lord. If your Lord isn't there, you're going to have to fight with 4. It's just the way that works. I'm actually not going to confirm this because I don't want them to be saved, but that's what I would essentially do. Also note that your dragon, when your dragon is gone, you will have that one go, but you can click this button that sets dragons in the city that are not defending dragons as substitutes in the city defense. So basically the same way that it would sub in other commanders, if I didn't choose them myself, it's going to sub in my extra dragon to be that second dragon because my other dragon is gone right now. So let's go ahead and just call these troops back. I don't need to do that. But be aware that, you are using the dragons as well as the commanders. You want to make sure they're all set properly with all those stats that are going to help all of your different troop types. You really want total stats when you're doing a city defense because that's going to help you the best. So I hope this helps in understanding how to do the commanders and the dragons and kind of where they go and what happens with them. Now, if you go to the fortifications page, really quickly to talk this through. Just like with troops, there are counters with each of these different fortifications. So the Wildfire Tower, this one directly counters spearmen. The Iron Spike Trap, these are going to counter cavalry. And then the Oil Barrows, these can't counter infantry. So it's not that these are really going to do all that much, but if you're fighting someone that was a lot weaker, then it's going to matter a lot more because those fortifications actually stay up for a little bit longer and are actually going to be meaningful. But unfortunately, once your wall durability is destroyed, the fortifications stop doing anything, so they're not going to be hugely beneficial to you, unfortunately, just because walls don't last very long in this game. Total attack is just so strong that generally you're going to just take down someone's wall very, very rapidly. I think that it's definitely something that in the game I would love to see them change, making walls a lot tougher. Would definitely make people a little bit less willing to solo or even to rally someone that's really strong. But I think right now it's just so easy to melt through someone's wall and start killing their troops that it's because that's what's more fun. People like being able to attack each other, but definitely something that the game is going to be looking into. Things like the Iron Defense Research Tree were definitely meant to kind of shore up your defenses, but I think that they really just had the effect of making bows really strong. But you see that they're clearly trying to add in this stuff for fortifications, but I think it just didn't, just not quite enough. We're gonna need to have another 4. Right now we're on level 4 wall design. We're gonna need level 9 or 10 before it really starts to matter, I think, unfortunately. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. Hope you learned a thing or two about how to set up your wall defense and what different things go into it. My glory level is only level 9, so technically I could have it be a little bit stronger if I get it to level 10, but all in all, my wall is pretty strong. I've got all that research done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a thing or two, and until next time, my name is TyrionLanstr. I'll see you then.